Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to be talking mother and son criminality. Mother and son have been indicted for selling counterfeit goods, including, and mostly limited to, allegedly, Louis Vuitton. Obviously, Louis Vuitton is at the tips of the lips and tongues of everybody across the nation in these times. And yes, we got another Louis Vuitton moment here. Before we get to all the criminal details, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. superdacob, all spelled together there as well. Thank you to my members and patrons who have already pledged. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream every Saturday. You are all more than welcome to join the live chats. Hi guys. Everything I say in this video is just my personal opinion. It's made for entertainment purposes only, allegedly everything. So, MSN News reports, South Texas mother and son indicted for dealing counterfeit Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton. And we're like, oh, shooketh. They're like, oh my God. This is going to be a great thumbnail moment too. Anyway, so yes, this was an authentic one, by the way. FYI. But listen to this. So in Texas, I'm not going to say where and who. Anyway, somewhere in Texas, 2 residents have been indicted by federal court for trafficking counterfeit goods. I have here a photo of the a counterfeit keepall that I'm seeing. Anyway. So a federal grand jury returned the 2-count indictment against the mother, 72, and the son, 45 years old, who were originally charged by criminal complaint. They are expected to appear before U.S. Magistrate Judge something for their initial appearance on the indictment in the near future. The investigation began February 3rd, when at the time, the 72-year-old mother, part owner of an outlet store, allegedly sold a counterfeit t-shirt purporting to be Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton. Authorities then seized approximately 346 items of counterfeit merchandise from the store, according to the charges. The indictment alleges that during the seizure, the mother identified herself as part operator of the outlet store. According to the complaint, both admitted to selling counterfeit clothing at the outlet for financial gain and shared control over the business. The son allegedly admitted to purchasing counterfeit merchandise from wholesalers in California. So the counterfeit goods are coming from California. The indictment further alleges both individuals had knowledge of a prior seizure notice authorities had sent. If convicted, both face up to 10 years in prison as well as a possible $250,000 maximum fine. Okay. By KWTX reporting, and that is MSN.com. Now, isn't that fascinating that, you are charged a ton of money for dealing in counterfeit goods, super risky and dangerous. Also, you lose your business. Also, 10 years in prison potentially. So this is no joke. Now, just it says made in America, it's a local business, y'all. I'm not so sure if it was imported from across the sea and it kind of lands in California and then that's their base of operations. From there on, they might spread out to other states in the country, but the quantity of all of this going down, and this is something that, we've touched base on this in another video of mine that you can also check out, where we talk about, for example, in the example of Chanel, when I analyzed the interview with Bruno Pavlovsky, who is the head of Chanel in some department right now, or has been for many, many decades now. And I said in that analysis of his statements about, the future of Chanel and blah, 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 I said, well, the biggest problem for Chanel, and not just Chanel, but all of these high-end luxury brands, and also not high-end luxury brands, in my honest opinion, humble opinion, is not really the resale market, but it's the counterfeit market. Because it's growing exponentially, and technology is advancing so much that these counterfeit goods, in many cases, exceed expectations, and in some cases also look better than the real deal, because sometimes these brands can't cope with all the demand, and they kind of produce quicker than they should, and they lack in quality control many times. And so the problem is that their end products are sometimes just subpar to what we're used to seeing from them in terms of quality. And then on the other end, you have the counterfeit goods, which are like perfect. And then you're like, oh. So sometimes these one-to-one extreme replicas are like, oh my God, they look better than the real deal. And technology is advancing so quickly that it's really, easy to replicate this stuff. I mean, most of these special iconic bags from these companies, they're old designs from many decades ago, and they're not difficult to make. So with advancement in technology, I mean, it's really difficult. I don't know how these brands think how these luxury brands think they're going to manage. Because, I mean, look, this is just one outlet store that had almost 500 pieces that they were going to sell. I mean, almost 400 pieces as stated by this article, allegedly. But imagine how many of these stores like this one exist just in the United States alone, and how the operations are, and how much of all of this comes through I don't know, because at the end of the day, you have to see it like this. All of this also filters and trickles down to potentially ending up in also shops and online shops that have some sort of authority, like bigger ones that are very famous, that kind of have a reputation for having really good, authenticators working for them, and you're like, now I'm like starting to think, are they really that good? Are they really authenticating that well? Do they really know what they're doing? Or is it all like, I'm doubting this. I'm really, really doubting this. And then we have also a lot of stories coming, from other parts, like Hermes, that in 2011 there was a lawsuit. There was a huge scandal because allegedly internally their own workers from their own workshops were allegedly stealing materials and hardware, turn locks, and then they were like making their own Kellys and Birkins on the side, or Constances, and then selling them. That was a whole thing too. And then in 2020 or 2021, all of those people that they could catch from 2011, they brought back to court, and then they started. This is an interesting thing, actually. When we're talking about counterfeit stuff, I could read to you a very interesting point about that as well. When it comes to, in particular, this Hermes situation from many years ago, that kind of fits the narrative of this conversation we're having now, also with these two, a mother and son situation. The prosecution in the case of the Hermes situation from 2011 that came back in 2020 or 2021, the lawyer of the accused. So basically what Hermes did was they were trying to accuse the perpetrators for several crimes. And so in France, there's several types of crimes you can accuse people of. One of them is stealing property of the company you're working for and then gaining money with it, which is a different lawsuit or a different crime than counterfeiting goods. it's kind of like on top of it, it's like an added crime, you know. And there's a lot of these like variations, and you can add up like, okay, we're going to accuse you for this. It all sounds similar, but they're different accusations. But the lawyer was defending the accused at this point because Hermes alleges that a Birkin is protected in itself. Listen to this. Among other arguments lodged in favor of the defendants, a challenge to the protectability, this is from the fashionlaw.com, by the way, a challenge to the protectability of the Birkin and thus the strength of the brand's counterfeiting charges. The defendant claims that Hermes cannot charge somebody for counterfeiting a Birkin because the Birkin is not protectable. Alexandre Lazareg, a lawyer representing one of the alleged ringleaders of this whole counterfeit thing, argued that Hermes could not identify what constituted the originality of the Birkin bag. A bag that is based, they allege, on an early 20th century model itself, inspired by transport satchels used by gauchos. So the lawyer is stating, you can't sue my client over charges of protectability of your Birkin because the Birkin is not protectable according to the defendant, because the lawyer argues that Hermes cannot identify what constitutes the originality of the Birkin bag. What is the originality of the Birkin bag? And then Hermes could say, well, it's the Hermes logo. But then the lawyer could counter and say, yeah, but you're using the same logo, your Hermes logo, on all your bags, not just on the Birkin. Hence, you can't say that the Birkin is a Birkin because that the logo is unique to the Birkin, because it's not. You're using that logo on your other bags, which are not Birkins. Oh, well, it's the straps. No, you're using the straps on other bags that Hermes makes that are not Birkins. So that also is not identifiable as a unique trait to a Birkin, hence making the Birkin protectable, allegedly. Very fascinating. So there's very little that a lot of these brands can actually do when it comes to that type of protectability, intricate DNA of a certain bag. How can you do it? How can you do it? Very tricky. But then they run after the resellers or these salespeople, like this mother and son who had this outlet store, because they say, well, you put a logo on something that is not belonging, that it was not made by us. And you're not an authorized dealer. You're not an authorized store. Besides the fact that Louis Vuitton only sells Louis Vuitton products within their own boutiques. So forget about it. You know what I mean? But very fascinating. I thought it was a very fascinating point. Now this, the Fashion Law article about the Hermes lawsuit is a very, very long article. But what really stuck out to me was this point in the article where the lawyers are bringing up this question in law. Well, how protectable is your product really? How unique are all the identifiable elements of your product just to your product? And quite frankly, I don't know how this is going to play out for Hermes, but I don't see how they can prove that the Birkin is protectable as its own DNA factor. Like there's no other bag in the world has this. Interesting. Silala says it's hard to protect a style, only a logo. Exactly, but nobody's talking about the logo here. They're not saying Hermes, they're saying Birkin. And this is why I said, well, what can you do? You put a logo on it and then it's Hermes. But I'm like, but that same logo they put on other bags, not just on the Birkin. And this also then unites us to that other topic we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, which was the Meta Birkin. This alleged artist making these digital fluffy versions of Birkins, and Hermes is allegedly suing the dude because they're like, well, what if we decide to make fluffy Birkins? And he's like, well, you didn't. So how much do they have ownership over? Because he didn't put the logo on. I don't think he did. Maybe he did. I don't know. I didn't see it. It's a digital fluffy version of a Birkin, right? He did NFTs, right? Meta Birkin NFTs. And again, same issue here. Well, what constitutes the recognizability of a bag that Hermes itself allegedly took as inspiration from 20th century bags of gauchos? How can you claim protectability over it? Interesting. Yeah, patent usually covers only the logo and brand, says Trish. Cece says, and this makes sense to me now on how, for example, Mango have a mini Kelly style bag, how the high street brands have their versions that's so close to the style of the luxury brands. Exactly. They can get away with it. You got to alter stuff a little bit so you get less trouble. But even if you make it very close to the, product that you're mimicking, and then you could still technically get away with it, you would have issues and you might have to spend money because you might get sued. But technically you could, if you play your cards right, you could potentially get away with it. This is just allegedly, just my opinion only. I'm no lawyer, so all of this, all what I'm saying is just for entertainment purposes only. I can never stress enough to repeat this 1 billion times in every video. Everything I've said in this video thus far and from here on out is just alleged and for entertainment only. So Silala says, it's like Chanel and quilted flap bags. It's iconically Chanel, but they don't invent quilted leather. They didn't invent quilted leather. Chanel did not invent quilted leather. Absolutely not. Coco said it herself. She got inspired, allegedly. She got inspired by the jockeys, by the horseback riders in Great Britain. And they had all those quilted saddles and jackets and satchels and bags. And so she got inspired by that quilting and transported that to her bag. So allegedly, right? So it's like everything is a copy of something else. Everybody inspires somebody else. Everybody moves forward the design agenda a little bit further. And what did Pablo Picasso was quoted to have said something about great artists are always copying, something to that extent. Inspired by quilted horse gear, maybe made by Hermes. Chanel might have been inspired. Well, no, that was a different time. But yeah. So this opens up legally what can be done about dupes as well. Exactly. And it's really hard because not only does it open up a question about how far can you push a dupe, but also we have the issue of, for example, the laws in China on counterfeit goods being very loose or non-existent as opposed to, let's say, the United States of America. So when an American company wants to sue another company, or when a European company wants to sue some manufacturer or dealer in China, it's kind of really hard because they don't have the laws set in place to protect these major brands yet. They're pushing their agendas, I'm sure, allegedly, that they're lobbying. I'm sure, allegedly. That these major, I can imagine that the major brands are lobbying to change certain laws in China in their favor. Probably big money's being, allegedly, just my opinion, given out to, by politicians or whatever need be in the governments to change the laws and protect these brands. I do not know, but I can imagine that the fight is real. The struggle that happens behind the scenes is huge. But guess who's paying all the price for all of this? It's us, the consumers, because all the price increases, that's also part of the reason why we get all these price increases. We're the ones paying their lawsuits. We're the ones who have to pay for all of this. Isn't it funny? They're fighting counterfeits, these luxury brands, right? They're running after all of these factories and all of these producers of counterfeit goods. And that costs them a lot in legal fees. Who do you think pays for that? It's us. So when I buy a marked up price for my authentic in Louis Vuitton boutique store purchased Poche Toilette that is like 30% more expensive now than it used to be a couple of years ago, I'm paying for that lawsuit. So in a way, I am paying for the counterfeit good. You see what I mean? I bought an authentic Louis Vuitton pouch in the Louis Vuitton boutique. but I'm paying for their battle against the counterfeit good. So I am paying for the counterfeit good. I am paying for it. I'm paying the price of Louis Vuitton fighting them. And it's annoying because at a certain point, the customer also asks themselves, well, hold on a minute. What? Hold it. So I am paying the legal fees for these brands so that they will prevent other companies for selling the same product for cheaper to me. So I'm paying a surcharge on these luxury products so that I am not allowed to purchase them cheaper elsewhere. Okay, hold it. How does that make sense? But you could see it that way. Of course, there's other ways to see this as well. I'm just giving you a very extreme version of it. But the thought doth cross my mind. Silala says, oh, totally. Coach is all dupes at this point. So many Louis Vuitton dupes, and their Dempsey line is like the Dior book bag. Bimblak says, true. Hermes should have made some kind of special closure like Monet or V&A. Yes but no says, good artists copy, great artists steal, says Picasso. Thank you so much, Yes but no, for quoting Picasso correctly. So good artists copy, great artists steal, says Picasso, or said Pablo Picasso. Jesus says, I'm sure allegedly iconic, right? I'm sure allegedly iconic. T-shirt. Oh my God, T-shirt. I'm sure allegedly. Okay, Yeah, T-shirt moment. I'm sure allegedly. And of course, Yabez believes Zara is going to copy it immediately. Oh my God. Okay. Rhoda, done. Copy, don't copy me. So Pap Zoltan says, let's be real. China thrives with the counterfeit market. Of course they do. Of course they won't have any laws in place to stop it. It's also in their interest, isn't it? Allegedly. Sad. Ingrid says, Hermes lost already a lawsuit again against the Korean brand Play No More that make a Kelly with eyes. The court said that the bag was different enough, so copyright didn't apply. Thank you for that note, Ingrid. I'm going to have to check that out. Corey Emerson says, the Birkin is the same thing as if someone made. As if someone made. The Birkin is the same thing as if someone made. Leather version of a Walmart. Oh, as if someone made a leather version of a Walmart shopping bag. The style was used everywhere in the 20th century. Okay, yeah. You see, and here we are, luxury bag addicts being, oh my God, the journey to the Birkin and the Kelly, when in reality, the Birkin and the Kelly aren't even authentic because those styles were made before by someone else, somewhere else. It's just about which one of the brands pushes their iconic status more onto you. And if they manage to trick you into it, well, then you're going to be ready to pay a pretty penny to get those items. Something to think about. And now, to end it, as I said at the beginning of the video, we have a 70-plus-year-old mother and her 40-plus-year-old son. This 70-year-old plus mother might have to go to jail for 10 years for having sold a counterfeit good. Something to think about. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me your thoughts and comments. Make them clever in the comment section down below. Subscribe to my channel. Thumb up this video. And until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.